Get that fucking trash out of your life. You have legacies to build. We grew that business from 3.4 million to 17.1. Horsepower, not horse shit. You want to be the parent that's an ally. They don't need another fucking friend. Not everybody's cup of whiskey. Toughest advice for the toughest businessmen. Be relentless. Today is day 3 of the forest fires here in Eastern Ontario. This is new to us. You see this every summer in parts of British Columbia and Western Canada, sometimes down in the Far East. But for me personally, in this area, I was speaking to my mom and dad last night. This is the first time in their lifetime, almost 90 years, that they've experienced something like this, where the air quality is presently the worst in the world. Worse than India, worse than China, places where they become accustomed to these levels of smog. Again today, the weather report is I would be walking now, it would be 74 degrees and sunny. And instead, what we're looking at here, if you can tell from this video, is it looks like it's a completely cloudy day. You can just see the sun coming up behind me. As you can see the fireball in the sky. That is all smoke and all smog. We have our home closed up. All school activities have been postponed. Like Emery's, all her activities after school have been canceled. And the fire that's affecting us the most is about 35 miles, 40 miles away. And it's about 120 acres in size. And the problem, what they're battling, the firefighters are battling, is the fact that we haven't had any rain here in weeks. So they're battling extreme amounts of dryness and drought. So everything is, all the timber, all the grass, it's all so flammable. We got a little bit of rain yesterday for about 10 minutes, but really not much, not enough to have an effect. So the air quality improved last night after the rain, but now as I walk here this morning, I'm clearly the only person that's out here, because this is the worst I've seen in 3 days. You can see it visually, but also just walking here, I can feel a little bit in my throat. I can feel a little bit just talking to you. However, the show goes on. I'm going to get in my steps like I did the last 2 days, shoot a video for you, and really talk about the importance of the real heroes in our world. We have the crazy 1% of 1% of 1% mob, I call them. The punch-drunk tomato cans of our society, who are constantly nattering on about the unimportant. Things that just don't matter, and they'll never matter in the end. And because of anti-social media, because of the bought and paid for news, because of, vomit politics, because of toxic television, you constantly get these agendas pushed forward by people that are a tiny, tiny percentile of our public, of the total population. You may think that these are important topics, but the reality is it's a tiny, tiny group pushing a very specific agenda. They can be lobbyists, they can be, they can be small groups trying to push certain political agendas. but they're the tiny squeaky wheel. And of course, they're anti-capitalism, anti-America, anti-Canada, anti-work, anti-self-reliance, and of course, anti-family. So it's interesting when something happens like this, whether it's a forest fire or we had a serious ice storm here, or there's floodings or hurricanes or tornadoes. When something happens in our world and the real heroes have to step up, it's amazing how it's an incredible reminder of what's really important in this world. That noise that doesn't matter, that tomato can mob, all of a sudden the stuff that we thought was important is not important anymore. All of a sudden we realize and refocus on the real heroes in our world. The real heroes in our world are elite mums and dads. The real heroes in our world are great teachers and great coaches. The real heroes in our world are committed doctors, nurses, medical staff that save lives every single day. They genuinely care about their patients, and they want the very best for people. They've dedicated their lives to improving people's lives. The real heroes in today's world are our police officers, our men and women in uniform who literally put their life on the line every single day. They don't get paid a lot of money. They put on the uniform. They never know what's on the other side of that door. They never know what's in that vehicle that they pulled over. They never ever know if they're going to be coming home at night. Yet they get up and they do that, and they serve the people in their communities and in their countries. Police officers, men and women, the real heroes in today's world. I have some friends who are firefighters, and again, those men and women are true heroes in our society. Nobody talks about firefighters until your house is in flames, or your neighbor's home is in flames, or you have a gas leak or something like this. And all of a sudden, you need those guys on your side. And once again, we have volunteer firefighters in our community where guys and gals are putting their life on the line. They're getting emergency calls at 3 a.m, and they don't get paid. It's the same as being part of the Rotary Club or volunteer to coach football or t-ball. They're volunteering their time and efforts to be volunteer firefighters in our community. Hundreds of men and women that in these small communities where we can't afford to have a full-time first responder staff. These men and women dedicate 10, 20, 30 years of volunteer hours. They're on call 24 hours a day. They're always putting their lives on the line for other people, and they put themselves in some very, very difficult and dangerous situations because they want to serve other people and they want to help people in their community. Firefighters, wow. Talk about top of the list heroes in our society that nobody else talks about. It's such a wake-up call when things happen. We've had problems here with our power grid. Sometimes because of weather, we'll lose our power for days. Sometimes in some rural areas, weeks on end. All of a sudden, the guys that are out working 24 hours a day, fixing power lines in the dead of winter so that people can get their electricity back on so they can heat their homes and cook their food. All of a sudden, those guys quickly become heroes in our society. So I think as a businessman, as a husband, as a father, as an entrepreneur, I think it's really important that you talk in your family, you tell stories, you speak about the real heroes in our world, so we're constantly reminded of what courage, resiliency, what brave heroes we really do have. And pushing down that other noise that doesn't matter. One of the reasons I don't participate personally in anti-social media or fake news or vomit politics or any of that toxicity is I don't want to be influenced by the 0.1% of 1% mob. I don't need that poison in my mind. I don't need that poison in my world. Instead, I like to read great books, read great newsletters, listen to great podcasts, hang around high quality people. And that's the way I can feed my mind, I can feed my body, I can feed my soul with quality intakes. Good in equals great out. Good in equals great out. And when you do those things and you focus on those types of things with an attitude of gratitude, it makes all the difference in the world in terms of your happiness, your health, and your peace of mind. If you have an attitude of gratitude, you're thankful for the real heroes in our world. You're thankful for our military, our men and women, past, present, and future, who have laid down their lives to pay the ultimate price in many cases for our freedom, our entrepreneurial freedom, our capitalist freedom, our ability to send our children to school, our ability to speak any language we want, our ability to move freely in our society, the ability for us to start and build and create a business, our ability to live life and do business on our terms. That has been hard fought and won on the back of our soldiers, our military, our men and women in uniform, past, present, and future. Freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free. We earn it every day. And when you hear the ridiculous and silly tomato can mobs about, bitching and complaining about stuff that just doesn't matter, it's just, it's really refreshing to remind yourself of the really true heroes in our world. A great mother is a hero. An outstanding father is a hero. A person who serves their community, they could be, picking up litter on the sides of the road. They can be helping people smile. They can be visiting people in a nursing home. They can be raising money for an animal shelter. They could be, volunteering at the food bank. Those are local heroes that deserve our respect. Our police officers, our firefighters, our nurses, our doctors, our quality teachers, the men and women who make a difference in this world are our true badass heroes. It's interesting, after we have reading at night, Emery and I say our prayers before bedtime, before we close our eyes, and we always say a prayer. We always say a prayer for those that keep us safe. And for me, it's a way of thanking my Creator for all the blessings of wonderful people in my life and the people behind the scenes, the silent majority that keep our country free, that keep our country great. But I think it's really important that our children and our spouses are reminded almost daily that we need to have an attitude of gratitude when it comes to the people that serve us behind the scenes. When you're sitting here and you're walking in smog and smoke like I am right here, you sure are glad and grateful that you have hundreds and hundreds of people working on containing this forest fire. You're certainly grateful that you have professionals who are working around the clock to make sure that this is contained and that, not that more people don't continue to lose their homes and their livelihoods. So it's an incredible thing when we sit down, when we pray at night, is I always say, Emery and I always say that we thank God for the people that keep us safe. We say, thank you, God, to our soldiers, men and women in uniform. We thank our police officers. We thank God for our police officers. We thank God for our firefighters. We thank God for our teachers. We thank God for our doctors and nurses. And we thank God for the heroes in our society that volunteer, put their lives on the line, and make Canada and the United States great. These are the people that we need to recognize and be grateful for. So do what I do what we do. When you get home tonight, make sure that you hug your family, hug your queen, tell her how much she means to you, tell her something that you love and respect about her. Over the next few days, leave her some notes. All it takes is a post-it note. All it takes is a text. All it takes is a little surprise to tell her something that you love and respect about her. I call those little things, those little things matter. Those little things add up. Those little things build a marriage that continues to be on fire. As far as your children, make sure if they're older, you pick up the phone and you hear their voice every day. Not a text, not just an email, not a message. Make sure you make it a priority. If your children are away at school, if they're young adults, that they hear your voice every day. I've coached this age group. I've coached the age group from 16 all the way up to 30. And I can tell you right now, your children still need you in their life every day, whether they're 20 years old, 25 years old, 28 years old. They need to hear your voice every day. It can be for 5 minutes, it can be for 10 minutes, but they need to hear your voice. They're adults, but they're not adults. They may be married, they may have their own world, but they need to hear from their dad every day. A text and an email don't count. Every single day, take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, go outside, dial their number, and ask them how things are doing, ask them questions and listen. No preaching, no speeches, no sermons. Just ask them questions and listen. Ask them questions and listen. You do that day after day, month after month, and they will trust you and they will tell you everything. They will tell a father everything if you speak with them every single day. But you gotta pick up the phone and call them. If they're younger, you need to go for little walks with them. You need to invite them to go for a car ride. Could be to the Dairy Queen, could be to your office, could be to Dunkin' Donuts, could be to the park. You leave your cell phone at home where it belongs. You don't put it on mute or any of that other garbage. You leave it at home and you're 100% present with your son or daughter. And there's no looking at your watch, there's no checking messages. You're there. When you're with them, you're with them. 100% present. Ask them questions, ask them about school, ask about their friends, and make sure that you demand good answers. Make sure you ask and they'll tell you. If you're a good listener, if you're listening to understand, if you're listening to hear, then they will tell you everything about their life. If you're just listening to respond like 99% of parents, they're just going to tune you out. But if you really genuinely listen to what they're saying so that you can understand what they're going through, if you listen to hear them, not to respond, not to make yourself look important or sound important, but genuinely listen to hear, they will tell you everything. They will be an open book for you over time. That's it for today. When you get home, make sure you give your wife and children a hug and tell them that you love them. It'll make them feel better. It'll make you feel better. And it's the right thing to do. If you don't have your fax number, make sure you reply to this email. If you don't have a fax number, you can get one through the software at MFax. There's a link below. That way you get my free money-making marketing faxes in your email box. You don't need a fax machine. Either way, get me your fax number. I send a fax about once a week. It's free. It's some of my best off-the-grid material, money-making, marketing, advertising, sales. And I have hundreds and hundreds of elite men, entrepreneurs, some women on my righteous fax list. And if you'd like to be included, send your fax, reply to this email. Leanne will put you on the list. And if you don't have a fax number, buy that software, MFax below. It's pennies per day. It allows you to receive faxes in your email, which is pretty cool. So I'll leave that in your hands. 2 words that changed my life. I'll keep you up to date on how we're doing here with our forest fires. We've been very fortunate and very blessed to have those firefighters working on our behalf and saving homes and saving lives and containing this as best as they can. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that can change your life. Be relentless.